Today is Friday, August, I don't know, 9th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I should probably check on that. I don't really track dates. The only reason I'm paying attention to it is because the Catalina Film Festival, to which we have submitted Libertas, has yet to respond, which is to say they haven't told us if we're in or not. They were supposed to tell us on Wednesday, the 5th, but Wednesday came and went. Then they switched to the 6th, which was yesterday, which makes today the 7th. It's Friday. Still haven't heard from them. Maybe it's not the 7th. I'm going to say it's the 7th because it makes me feel better. I'm going to say it's the 8th because it makes me feel better. It's probably the 9th. I'll check. It's the 7th. So, I bring up the date because my previous vlog called Without Dichotomy went live and 17 of you watched it. And I think that for the people that it hits, that it impacts, I got like 2 texts today and yesterday from people telling me of the 17 of you, which is a pretty high response rate. And admittedly, it's people who have my personal phone number, so we're already pretty close. Letting me know that they watched it, they have opinions, which means it's evocative, and that's awesome. But the function of YouTube is to reach a larger audience, and these videos aren't doing that. I will not post these videos with a runtime less than 10 minutes because I am actively boycotting shorts. And I'm doing that because psychological studies have shown that these shorts are making people's attention span worse. And it's only a problem if you actually want to think deeply about something, because there's no real way around that. That kind of thought, that kind of introspection just takes time. Focused attention. I'm not making shorts. I do, however, I'm going to explore this week the idea of taking this video, the one that you're now watching, and breaking it up into different sections. And I will break it up into however many sections are over 10 minutes and post the following one the following day. See what happens. Almost every YouTuber says the key to getting more traffic is posting more frequently, such that YouTube's algorithmic engine has more content from which to build a psychological model off of what my YouTube mind map, emotional map thing is, such that it can reference what people watch and kind of mix and match emotional models. Kind of like a dating app, actually, except it's not dating, it's getting you to watch video stuff on YouTube, basically sell advertising content, which I get behind. I had this weird realization. Somebody called me out saying when I post it on YouTube, it's not actually giving it away for free because people have to pay with their time. Here's the thing. The realization I had was that if you pay with money or you pay with time, either way, you're paying with time because it costs you your time to get the money to pay, or you're giving your time directly. So if you make like $100 million an hour, it's probably better for you to pay YouTube to get YouTube Premium and not have ads than it is for you to watch the ad and use up your time, the 1 minute of your time in which you could have made probably $1.5 to $1.8 million in that 1 minute. If you don't make that kind of money, or if that equation doesn't make sense for you, and this is really another reason why I post on YouTube, if you can't afford the premium, if it doesn't make economic sense to pay the money to YouTube, then you gotta watch the commercial. The other thing YouTube incentivizes is mid-roll ads, where they'll break up the middle of the video with ad content. This increases engagement, but also they pay more for mid-roll ads because your attention is already focused, and then you have to separate your attention voluntarily to avoid the ad. From a marketing point of view, that makes sense. From a creation point of view, I don't agree with it because I curate my content such that it's long form, it requires depth, it requires a focused attention to follow all of it because that's just what I do. And I don't want to break it up in the middle. I want you to focus and think about the things that I'm saying and figure out how or if they apply to your life in a meaningful way. And so I'm not going to do mid-roll ads. That's why there's ads at the beginning. I would like to make some money, but not sacrifice the quality of my content to do that. Anytime you see mid-roll ads and not at pre-roll, which is what I do, that's the content creator, the person like me who is also a YouTuber, deciding to fill the middle of their content with ads, which means they don't care as much about the depth and they care more about the money. I respect that. That's their choice. They're going to do their thing. Maybe they can architect their stuff in such a way that it lends itself to that kind of breakup, like television used to. So that's, I guess, the announcement. A couple of the comments that people shared with me about last week's video were interesting, and I want to address them before I get into what I want to talk about today. And there are a couple things I want to talk about today. The comments were, in my previous video, I kind of skated around the concept of free will. I don't know if we have free will. I know we have a narrative engine in our brains trained by Western civilization to tell us that we have free will, but I don't know that it's real. Physics says no. Chemistry says no. Psychology says no. Most religions say no. And yet there's this persistent feeling of yes. Is the persistent feeling part of Western programming, or is it inherent in what we are? My personal opinion that I'm currently working on, and I don't have certainty about this, but I would say I'm probably 60% certain, which means I'm enough to, I believe it enough to espouse this, but there's no real risk to my saying it or not, other than how I live into it. And even that becomes questionable. My personal opinion, and this comes from the book that I mentioned I was reading on the When La Playa video, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He makes the argument that when we learn things, they become embedded into our body, and then we stop being aware, we stop making choices, and we start running programs. And the narrative engine inside our brain tells us we're making choices, but we actually aren't. And we know this because habits are hard to break. Doubly so, or maybe exponentially so, when those habits are chemical addictions like sugar or alcohol or other mind-altering drugs. There are special programs people get into to help them break that habit. Even with the program of, I'm sad, I want to escape my sadness by porn or alcohol or food or video games or whatever it is. A friend of mine used to go to the firing range and shoot guns to break up his sadness, frustration, which he eventually realized was not the healthiest mechanism. That argument says that the thing that we normally experience as adults, maybe it's after 5 years old when your personality develops, or 13 or 25, whatever you think the psychological trajectory is, let's just say that it's that. After that point, you're primarily running programs. You're primarily running algorithms. Shout out to my movie Algorithm. Zen makes the argument that 90% of people will not wake up from this algorithmic life. And you know that you're waking up because you become more present to what's actually going on around you. Rather than reacting to your environment, you act. And it may or may not be contingent upon factors within that environment. That, compounded by the fact, and I mentioned it in physics, is that time, as we understand it, is a dimension of space, which means it's static. It doesn't change. The model I like to use, and I've probably said this before because I've talked about this topic before, the model I like to think about is that you're on a road that leads somewhere, and the road appears to curve and do all kinds of road eccentricities. And while you're on the road, you would say the road curves, but the road doesn't curve. The road is made and it's fixed, and if you're going in a direction, you're gonna follow the road that appears to change, but it doesn't change. The road's fixed. Your perception and your narrative says that it changes, but it doesn't. And that's how time works. Physics is kind of set on that. However, that's just fourth dimensional reality. We live in at least seventh dimensional reality, as far as I have plotted out in my research. And one of those higher dimensions involves energy coming into being and disappearing. It involves entanglement, where there are things called non-causality, which is to say that the future can affect the past. In that reality, which is our reality, but in a way that we don't kind of live into normally, there is the capacity for choice. When we're present, we are directly interacting with, we basically unlock the static nature of time and enter into what I call eternity or timelessness, where we can co-create reality with Creator, with the universe, with our higher self, whatever you want to call that. We can do that. It, I don't think, is the same thing that we mean when we say free will. It is something else, far more powerful, far more active, far less controlling, because it's a co-creation. We want to control because we're afraid. We're afraid because we believe in scarcity.